Alright guys, I'm here to announce that we've got a very special, unannounced mystery box dropping today with very little quantities. It's a special mystery box that I've done for a retailer, and they've put together a really great collection of luxury niche fragrances with one designer option in here. This is the first time we're doing a designer. And as I said, this is very limited quantities. A quarter, actually less than a quarter of what we dropped during the last mystery box on Black Friday in November. So I'm going to tell you about the fragrances. Of course, it's a mystery. I'm not going to tell you what the fragrance names are or the brand names, but I'm going to give you some details about them and smell them on camera for you. But you're going to want to find out about this mystery box coming right up. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'm Sebastian, talking to you about a new mystery box here. It's a really great collection of fragrances from one retailer. Most of the fragrances are niche offerings, luxury niche brands, but we have one designer. This is the very first designer fragrance featured in any of the kits that I've done, either the Scent Club kits or the mystery boxes. And this is an extra, sort of a surprise mystery box. We're still going to do another one 3 months down the line. But this kit is 12 samples, and there's a really great free gift along with the samples. And the majority of the fragrances are from 2024, so they're brand spanking new. There's one that's older in the kit. That's the last fragrance I'm going to talk to you about. And these fragrances have never, ever been featured in the actual mystery boxes or any of our kits that I've put together. They're brand new fragrances, never been featured, but the brands might have been featured in the past, just so you know. So if you've picked up any kits in the past, you would never have been able to get these in any of the kits. They're brand spanking new. So the first fragrance I've spoken about, it's a super delicious amber vanilla fragrance. It's mostly amber, but you've got lots of vanilla in here as well, along with a lot of smoky touches and spicy touches. If you're into amber fragrances with a vanillic tinge to them, you might want to check this one out. It's super delicious. I love ambers. It's definitely a top 5. I would say more of a style of a fragrance. And if you're like me and you enjoy ambers, this is definitely one that's going to satisfy you. I like the way the amber and vanilla are working together. It is definitely on the dry side more than the syrupy side, but it's cut through with the incensey, smoky touches and the peppery touches, additional spicy touches that are in there. I absolutely love that. It's a really, really great fragrance. It should satisfy, and it's still winter here, so that's going to be perfect to wear in the winter time. This next one is a very expensive fragrance actually, so you're getting a sample to check it out. And definitely one of the highlights from last year. It's a spicy, sort of a gourmand, but it's got some musky touches and of course some ambery touches in the dry down as well. It's an extrait de parfum. In fact, the first fragrance that I spoke to you about is also extrait de parfum, so these two are pretty intense concentration fragrances. But this one's super, super delicious. In fact, I think I featured these in videos in the past, but if you like my taste, you're probably going to like this one. There's a major spicy gourmandesque touch with this one, but a lot of musks are in there as well. I'm smelling it. I sprayed it and it smells so good. So intoxicating, so delicious. Really, really yummy. Wow. I really, really love the way this one smells. Definitely a highlight from this house. And highly concentrated. It has great longevity on me. It's not like a super room filler, but really a fantastic creation from this house. It can go in there as a top 5 fragrance from this particular house, which I am a fan of. So the next fragrance is that designer I mentioned. This is the first designer we've ever had in any kits. And we do have a designer here. It's an Italian fashion house. And this is their latest fragrance. And it's a spicy, citrusy, woody take on leather, and it's got pink pepper notes, leathery touches, amber, cardamom, vetiver, sandalwood, and mandarin. This fragrance has actually grown on me. It's their latest release from this designer, and if you like the idea of a fresh, spicy, woody take on leather with some ambery touches in the dry down, you're probably going to dig this one as well. This is the most masculine in the There's a few that are very masculine leaning here. Perhaps this is the most masculine because it does have a lot of leather. But when you put your nose to it, you get a lot of spices. It's fresh, so this one doesn't have a lot of warmth, even though there's some warmth under there on the base with some ambery touches. But it's mostly fresh because it's fresh, spicy with that citrusy mandarin, and then of course the leather creeps in, creates woods, and there's some smoky touches and peppery touches, and really, I think it's a solid release for somebody looking for a very masculine take on kind of a fresh leather. But the next one is a Gourmand fragrance. It's a fruity Gourmand with fruity notes. There's coffee here, chocolatey notes. There's amaretto. So it's got some boozy touches. There's warm spices, honey touches, and tonka. So it does have a bit of a nuttiness. The fragrance actually is quite fruity, but it's also very creamy smooth. So that kind of creamy smoothness gives you a very cozy, consistency and a feel. So if you're like kind of cozy gourmands that have a fruity edge and creamy quality, this one's definitely going to satisfy. I've spoken about this one as well in the past, but it's yum. Really, really yummy. It's quite powdery though, even though it has some honeyed touches. I think this satisfies really, really wonderfully. I think everything is nicely balanced. The fruitiness balanced with the creamy notes. There's a bit of coconut in here as well. There's booziness in there. Nicely done fragrance for sure. So that is the fourth fragrance. So this next fragrance is fairly new to me, but I like what I'm smelling. It's got a lot of warm spices. It's got musk and woods as well, and some smokiness in there. But it wears super sexy because the musk is pretty pronounced. It's slightly funky, but not overly animalic, but it's nicely blended with all the other notes. So the warm spiciness of the nutmeg is pretty prominent. It's a good thing that they've used nutmeg and not like cinnamon and cloves, because that really does tend to overpower. I think the nutmeg has enough of a spiciness, a warmth to it, but not overpowering, where it turns the fragrance into like a holiday experience. Because I consider the cloves and cinnamon to be more of a holiday spice vibe, whereas this one does have that warmth with the spices, but it's nicely mixed in with the woods and the musk. The sandalwood that's in here is also kind of on the creamy side, so there's a major smooth quality about it. I wouldn't call this a gourmand. It's more of a spicy, smoky, woody take on musk. This brand I've spoken about, but I have never spoken about that fragrance itself. And that's turned out to be my favorite fragrance from that house, in fact. But we'll tell you about it in the reveal video in the future. But this next fragrance is also fairly new to me. This is also a brand I've spoken about here and there, but not done a full video on the house or anything. I've done a video on the previous house. But this one is a fruity white floral fragrance, and those are pretty common out there. It does have a fruity touch. It has spices in there. There's lots of honey. And then, of course, it's got woods, boozy notes, vanillic notes. It's in the style of something like Terenzi would make. It's quite loud. It's an extrait de parfum. Long-lasting, but super sweet. The honey is very pronounced, and of course it's nicely blended with the fruity notes. Yeah, it's a nice balance, but if you don't like sweet honeyed notes, this one might not be it for you, but I think those kind of notes are perfect for the winter time. I'm fine wearing it in the summertime when it's hot. Sometimes for you guys it might get a little cloying, but I think it's nicely done. It's a bit fun and playful and a bit bubblegummy because it has the kind of white floral notes that tend to go into that kind of bubblegummy direction. So this next one is the second really masculine offering. It's a very modern take on a fougere style fragrance, even though I consider fougères more masculine fragrances. The fragrance itself is targeted unisex, but it does lean masculine. It's very fresh, ice cold, spicy with tea, lavender. There's woods in here. There's bergamot, neroli. I think it's perfect. And this fragrance I think is perfect in the heat of the summer because it has a really great cooling quality about it. So you're going to want to check this one out, especially if you like barbershoppy fragrances that are not so old school but more modern takes on them. Really great, really cozy as well, because I consider fougères to be, I'm sorry, not fougères, I consider tea and fragrances to have a very smooth and cozy vibe to them, and so that fragrance does that. So in the summertime when it's hot, you want that ice cold feeling, cool yourself off with this fresh smelling fragrance with herbs and tea and things like that, you get that, freshness and also get that kind of smooth, chill kind of attitude or feel with it. So this next fragrance is so good. I'm glad to be featuring it here in the latest surprise mystery box. It's a surprise. It's a great surprise for this brand. It's a very underrated house, underhyped. Not many people speak about this house, but they always create really great fragrances, and this is definitely one of them. It's super musky and really powdery, and it features white musk, saffron, there's ambrofix here, solar notes, ambery notes, orange blossom, vanilla, jasmine, a lot of different things. But it's like a very super sexy fragrance. It wears really great, but super powdery, really intensely powdery and musky. And I love musky notes that are on the animalic side, wearable though, and then also, musky notes that are more like clean musk and super powdery and things like that. And this is the latter. It's not animalic at all to me, but it's, it's very powdery and musky, ambery, and floral notes and spices comes in as well, and to create a really great concoction. Very underrated house. And I wish people were talking about this house because they make some great fragrances. This next fragrance I have spoken about. This is a fragrance featuring lots of ouds, and it's combined with gourmand notes. So there's sandalwood here, there's amber, there's cassis, there's plum note, caramel, lemon, tonka, coffee. A lot of great things happening. It starts off pretty funky with the oud, but it's a wearable oud. It's not necessarily overly animalic. And then everything kind of blends together to create this kind of an oudy gourmand experience. Nicely done fragrance for sure. If you like oudy gourmands, you're going to probably enjoy this one. And just be warned, it's not a warning actually, just know that this is not a like super funky oud. There is some light funk under there, but I think it's mostly a very westernized oud mixed in with gourmand-esque notes. The dry down is superior on that, really great. And this next one is a super delicious tonka bean gourmand. Lots of almonds, lots of tonka beans. It's creamy and a bit milky and musky as well. There's a lot of resins and amber. There's ambrette seeds here, and of course coconut water and figs. They did a great job with this one. It's created by a really great perfumer. It wears beautifully, but the bitterness of the almonds comes through along with the tonka's bitterness. So they work really wonderfully together, but it's super smooth and cozy and a bit milky and musky as well. If you like almondy notes, bitter almondy tonka notes, you're probably going to enjoy this one. There's some slight fruitiness in there. And the coconut water kind of appears a little bit, creating a milky effect. But it's almost like almond milk, but the almonds are on the bitter side. Really wonderful. I think this is really going to satisfy. It's perfect for, the cold of winter. But, there's no rules. Wear it when you want, whenever, wherever you want. This next fragrance is a fun and playful fragrance. I did a video on this house, and this turned out to be my favorite from the house. It's a very fun, playful, summer-forward fragrance with a vanillic undertone, and also, even though they don't mention sandalwood, I get a very creamy sandalwood effect happening with this fragrance that's really smooth and calming and cozy. It has frangipani, it has figs and vanilla. It wears super smooth. It almost feels a little bit like a bright, colorful, tropical fruit smoothie kind of an experience, because there's that smoothness, there's that creaminess in here. But it's a wonderful creation, definitely one of my favorites from this house. And I think even though there's vanilla in there, the fruitiness and the floral touches are pretty prominent. And against the vanilla and of course that sandalwoody note in the base, it really smells wonderful. I think that's perfectly fun and playful. And the last fragrance is the one that I mentioned is not from last year. This is the only one that's from some other year, several years back. But once again, it's fruity gourmand. It has pineapple and strawberries, and the pineapple and strawberries are nicely mixed together along with caramel. There's vanilla here, musk, apples, raspberry, magnolia, and rose. This, to me, I think the pineapple might stand out, but sometimes when I wear it, it's a combo of the pineapple and the strawberries together, so you get an equal amounts of both. It is covered up with a lot of powdery dry woods, so it's kind of floating in a cloud of these woods, but inside this cloud there's this juicy fruitiness of the pineapple and strawberries. There's also apples and there's musk and vanilla as well, but it's surrounded by a lot of woods. It's a nice gourmand actually. I wasn't the biggest fan of it, but it's grown on me. It's created by a perfumer that I admire that created one of my favorite fragrances that we featured in a kit a long time ago. This has never been featured, and it kind of sort of hints at that, so I think that's one of the reasons why I'm starting to fall in love with this fragrance. But that's all the fragrances. There's 12 samples in the kit, along with a really nice diffuser gift. I'm giving you a little bit of a clue on the gift, but it's supposed to be a mystery. And so again, this is dropped today and will sell out ASAP because the mystery boxes go right away. And again, this one's not very expensive, very limited quantities, and you'll discover some really great fragrances from brands that either I've spoken about or have never spoken about, and brands I've featured in the kit or have never featured in the kit. And as I said, these fragrances have never been featured in the kit, so these are all brand new samples. I might have spoken about them, but never featured in the mystery boxes or the regular kits. Anyway, thanks so much for watching today's video. If you have any questions or comments, please list below. Please like this video, please share it. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye. I should also say we have discount codes for the 3 fragrances in the latest original Scent Club kit, number 13, and I'll have those discount codes posted in the info box and then also on the website as well. And we do have some more of our original kits selling. It's also linked in the info box. See you guys later. Bye-bye.